Will that leader stand up right now, turn around, tell his caucus, get out of the way of the Liberals fighting crime?
This is quite the interesting session here today. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, we've got the speaker silencing Pierre, taking away one of his questions for no reason. Everyone, including myself, shocked as this happened. I've also been doing some digging. I'm going to show you a very interesting connection between Tim Hodgson and one of Mark Carney's major projects. Got a bunch of other stuff. Let's jump into this. We've got Kirk posting this one. What's Canada's labor market look like behind the headlines and under the hood? Over the past 12 months, Canada has only created 107,000 new full-time jobs. Quebec, PEI, Newfoundland, and Labrador haven't created a single new full-time job in a year. British Columbia couldn't even create 3,000 new full-time jobs. And where's the rest of them? It's Alberta. Of course it is. The one province that gets demonized for exporting energy. Alberta dominating here, creating full-time jobs in Canada. We also have Ontario, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. It's the West, aside from British Columbia. And as we see, Quebec in the red here, big time. And the reason why British Columbia is not thriving is, well, David Eby, the BC NDP running this province here into the ground. It's clear what the solution is here. We have to get rid of this NDP government in British Columbia. We got to get rid of the Liberals. Quebec needs a redo in what they're doing over there as well. Not to mention East Coast. Well, this is all Liberal land. This should be very apparent, but people are stubborn. Are they just going to keep voting for a government that's going to run our country into the ground? Speaking of which, we have RCMP arrest 4 in Ottawa after investigation into shipping street candy via Canada Post. As Melissa mentions here, Canada Post seized 1.2 kilograms of this M word here, 200 hydro pills, the Cocoa White Bam Bam, and other stuff. The Liberals say they're tough on crime. They're the ones creating the opportunity for crime to thrive in Canada. I mean, look at this. We've got another horrible home invasion. An 88-year-old man is done. 86-year-old wife was pow-powed. This was in Quebec. Apparently a 19-year-old female who's also a rapper has been charged. You can't make up these stories. We got gangsters from the other side of the planet coming here and attacking Canadians. Where are the Liberals? Nowhere to be found, because they want this chaos in our country. Then they can say, you know what? We need to have more government control. Don't worry, we'll control everything. And they can put us under their digital ID and their digital wallet and their digital this, that, and the other to control us. And then they can force things on us that they can make money from, like the carbon credit system.
Mr. Speaker, let me wish everyone a Merry Christmas, the time of hope. And of course, Conservatives are the party of hope. And we share that hope as I do with the Prime Minister, inviting him to stand up. But unfortunately for many Canadians, it's the time of Liberal inflation. As they go down the grocery aisles, they see the costs of food rising before their eyes. As the Prime Minister increases hidden taxes on the cost of making and selling food. 7 cents a litre gas tax he plans for the new year. Will he rise today and give Canadians some hope by announcing he's reversing that latest Liberal tax hike?
So what Pierre's doing here, him mentioning Carney rising, he called him out earlier today to show up at the House of Commons. As we see with his tweet here, Prime Minister, before you give yourself a 6-week Christmas holiday, today's your last chance to answer in the House for broken promises on the cost of living, spiraling deficits, and the catch and release crime wave. You're in Ottawa, see you at question period, unless you're afraid to defend your costly broken promises to Canadians. Ouch. So the question is now, did Carney show up for work today?
Speaker, rather than focusing on imaginary taxes like the opposition, we stay focused on helping Canadian families, and it's why Canada Child Benefit checks will be delivered early.
Nobody's buying this garbage. At least nobody should be buying this garbage. So Carney didn't show up for work again today, as he always does. He skips out because he can't debate, and he doesn't care about Canada. He just wants to make his money and get out of here.
Focus on supporting Canadians and Canadian families, something that I would hope a party that talks about hope would want to do.
Speaker, the member might be suggesting that her own government department is imagining things again. I'm reading right here from the Environment Department's, quote, impacts of the CFR on gasoline and diesel prices. And for 2026, 7 cents a litre, Mr. Speaker. Oh, wow. Another tax increase on fuel. So while the Prime Minister promised to flip-flop on carbon taxes and copy Conservative ideas, once again, it's the costly counterfeit version on his side. That tax will increase the cost of producing and delivering food to grocery stores for just in time for Christmas. Will he get rid of this latest Liberal tax on energy and food?
So they have a whole bunch of these clean fuel regulations, adding taxes. These are all just carbon taxes. They're carbon taxes with different names. Same with the industrial carbon tax, hit at the production aspect versus at the final product. Or if you increase the cost of energy and fuel, it will inevitably increase the cost of all the products in Canada. We got Melissa posting this one. Welcome to Canada, where food bank usage is at a record record high. 25% of people living in food insecurity. Meanwhile, in April 2025 alone, the Carney government committed $460 million to other countries for their food and nutrition needs. This is not a joke. They're giving our money away to other countries when our own citizens are starving. $460,600,000. This deplorable. Pierre's doing a press conference here today. He gets asked a question about Aaron Gunn. So Aaron Gunn here has announced that he is considering running for the leadership of the BC Conservatives. As I showed in the previous video, David Eby, there was some leaked information showing that looks like he's going to be running a snap election at the end of January. We need a strong leader here. So Aaron Gunn considering this. Listen to how dumb this question is.
North Island Powell River. So how should the voters in North Island Powell River be feeling right now after less than a year after sending an MP to represent a common sense conservative agenda in Ottawa? He's openly mulling a jump to BC politics. Is this a betrayal or slap in the face to the voters
common sense conservatives
in Powell River? Thank you.
I think the people in that riding and every riding want an affordable Canada with affordable food, affordable homes on safer streets. That is a common sense conservative agenda, and we need it both federally and provincially.
The guy's wording there, is this a betrayal? Are you kidding me? You look at the polling, Aaron Gunn is ahead of everyone else by a country mile or a country kilometer. Is that the Canadian version? And just think about this for a second and how dumb that question is. If Aaron Gunn becomes the BC Conservative leader and then beats David Eby in the next election, you got to remember, Aaron Gunn spent years digging into everything wrong in British Columbia. He made documentaries that have millions of views on all the street candy, the very program David Eby brought in that is destroying British Columbia. Aaron Gunn is the kryptonite to David Eby. So if he wins, do you think there's going to be support from the Premier of British Columbia for a pipeline from Alberta to BC? It makes things stronger for the Conservatives. There's going to be no pushback there. All they have to do is work with First Nations. Most of them already want these pipelines because they bring in jobs, except for the activist bands that are receiving millions of dollars from the Tides Foundation and these other leftist organizations from America, American billionaires. Does Pierre Poilievre want to lose Aaron Gunn as an MP? Probably no, but he's very well spoken. Is this a major ally to Pierre Poilievre if Aaron becomes the Premier of British Columbia? Of course. Here are one of those individuals. We've got Chief Terry Villeburn. Notice the language here. She calls them the tar sands. This is the language that has come from the big billionaire donors like the Tides Foundations in America, funding these activist chiefs up here in Canada.
We want to say to the Prime Minister Carney that we say no. No to increasing production of tar sands by 100 million barrels a day. No to increasing toxic tailings in our backyard. No to lifting the tanker ban on the West Coast. And no to Pathways carbon capture. And no to the MOU within Alberta. We stand in solidarity with the Coastal First Nations, and Prime Minister Carney would have known this if he had bothered consulting us. Our treaty is not a bargaining chip for you to sell out Canada. All of Alberta is treaty land, and you can't have an agreement with Alberta that excludes us. We who are standing here today have stopped Alberta from separating.
Okay, so there's a whole bunch of things here that are false. First off, Prime Minister has complete power to push a pipeline through anywhere they want for national interest. First Nations do not get a veto. They do not have power over the Prime Minister.
And we will stop this MOU from being enacted. Masicho.
You cannot. But going back to what she said earlier there, she said,
no to increasing toxic tailings in our backyard.
Toxic tailings in your backyard. Her band is out in Alberta, but she's talking about toxic tailings. Meanwhile, what do we have in Prince Rupert here? So Prince Rupert, just off the south, I've pointed this out in the channel before. There's the Trigon terminals. This is a coal export terminal here, a terminal of which, when it rains, these toxic heavy metals go into the water. Does she have a problem with this? Or is it because this is partially Indigenous owned? As we see on this article here, this is on Ridley Island. See Ridley Terminals. It was renamed to Trigon, which is what we've got here. When agreement was made in July 2019, and when that happened, 90% of the shares were sold to a company here, Riverstone Holdings, and 10% right here, the remaining 10% of Canada's shares have been transferred to a limited partnership by the Laxklamash Band and Metalaka First Nation. I mean, First Nations are getting ownership in these projects, such as this coal export terminal. She complains about washing toxic tailings. Well, I mean, what exactly is this? And I'm not saying we should shut this down, but I mean, let's just get real here. Energy is what powers the world. If we don't export our energy, we're going to be broke. We're going to fall into the Stone Ages. We're going to go back to living like people in Africa. They don't export energy. That's why they're all broke. There's enough of the nonsense, the lies, and all the garbage that's being pushed out. Now, I don't know if her band individually are being funded by the Tides Foundations or these big billionaires, but I mean, anytime you see that wording like tar sands, that came directly from those organizations. So more digging is needed here. here, but I mean, we can't have anyone and everyone blocking pipelines and energy projects while our country's being tariffed. We need to diversify exports. This is a slippery slope. I mean, otherwise you're going to start seeing Canada fracture. She also mentions the Pathways project.
No to lifting the tanker ban on the West Coast, and no to Pathways carbon capture.
So a little note about Pathways. I was doing some digging around the Pathways project. This is one that Mark Carney's invested in. Canadian Natural Resources, ConocoPhillips, and ExxonMobil. So these are all direct conflicts of interest already, but this gets even worse. So digging around on the leadership page, we scroll down and who do we have here? Derek Evans. Now, if you remember this video talking about Michael Evans, Mark Evans, I mean, it could just be coincidence, same last name, very common last name. I'm not speculating these guys might be related or cousins, but it did spur looking into this. And what I found looking into Derek Evans here is very interesting. Looking at his own profile, he's a executive chair of Pathways Project. So basically the top here, Derek's main responsibilities are providing strategic leadership to the executive team and steering committee, leading high-level external stakeholder engagement, including collaborations with the federal and provincial governments, providing and supporting the strategic execution of Pathways Alliance initiatives. So he's the direct contact to Mark Carney and essentially Tim Hodgson. He is the point person. And if we look further down, what do we get? Prior to joining Pathways Alliance, Derek was the president and CEO of Meg Energy. And right away, my jaw hit the floor because Tim Hodgson here was on the board of none other than Meg Energy. These guys know each other. The CEO and a board member, of course they know each other. He goes over to Pathways Project, Tim Hodgson, the direct connection there. They're getting their people in all the different places here. So I've got it all listed out, Derek Evans here. As we saw in the Pathways Project over here, I also snipped this one here, which has some of the timelines. So he worked on Meg Energy from August 2018 to May 2024 as president and CEO. It goes on to talk about other things, director, Pengrowth Energy, etc., etc. But if we look at the timelines here, we have this one from Wikipedia. This is Tim Hodgson's Wikipedia page, and down here it says Meg Energy right there. So Hodgson served as board member for Calgary-based oil sands producer Meg Energy from 2016 to 2019. So if we overlap these, what we get is this. So Tim Hodgson, 2016 to 2019, Derek Evans, 2018 to 2024. There's 2 years of overlap. These guys know each other. They work together with each other. Guaranteed, because Tim Hodgson, a board member, and Derek Evans here, CEO of Meg Energy, and now suddenly Derek Evans is the top guy at the Pathways Project. The point of contact to Tim Hodgson and Mark Carney. Mark Carney rolling out his green grift. It's a little too convenient. So as I said, Mark Carney is getting his people in positions of power all over the spectrum here to roll out his grift. And this is just another shining example of exactly that.
What we always seek more hope, and it will never come from the Conservatives, is actually for them to read a full report in its entirety and understand the actual implications. In fact, the fuel regulations do not have the impact as he described them, but let's go a little bit further.
Yeah, because you guys pay an organization to come up with phony baloney data that supports your narrative. We're not dumb here, guys.
Let's talk about the opportunities, because I'm hoping he's thinking about canola farmers too. The regulation reduces emissions, but it creates opportunities for canola farmers. They have actually specifically said it is not a tax, and once more, it spurs innovation, creates opportunities. That's what we're about. That's what hope is about.
What opportunity? These are just more lies. These guys chronically lie in the House of Commons. $5,000 fine. Boom. They need to implement this immediately. We have to close all the loopholes so prime ministers can't get stinking rich off the backs of taxpayers too.
Speaker, it's very telling that the prime minister is not prepared to stand up and defend his own tax. But just to prove that it's another counterfeit, the Liberals say that a tax on the diesel farmers use is going to help farmers, just like releasing criminals, they say, will reduce crime. Mr. Speaker, Conservatives have been fighting to end Liberal bail for a very long time. The Liberals pretended to agree with us introducing a watered-down bail bill, but now they're blocking their own bill. Yes. Conservatives have moved 17 times to push the bail bill forward, and 17 times Liberals have blocked it. Not 1 second of study at their own Justice Committee. Will they get out of the way so that we can scrap Liberal bail and bring safety by Christmas?
Yeah, they're just trying to push through all these religious bans on certain phrases and words.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that leader lives in a bit of a parallel universe if he thinks that we are the ones in the way of the most ambitious crime-fighting agenda that has been presented to this Parliament ever. Mr. Speaker,
Easy there, Batman. Where's your cape? Come on. This guy is the biggest clown, but boy, is he a bolsterous liar. That's why Carney keeps him around. This guy talks loud and proud. If we had that lying fine in Parliament, this guy'd be getting dinged every single day multiple times.
Conservatives are blocking progress on bail reform. They are blocking progress on immigration reform. They are blocking progress against extortion, child against all manner of crimes, Mr. Speaker. Will that leader stand up right now, turn around, tell his caucus, get out of the way of the Liberals fighting crime?
He's the biggest liar on the bench. Like, he really is.
Five questions. I took one away. I took one question away because the honourable member broke a rule. We're now going to l'honorable député de Saint-Jean.
The honourable member for Saint-Jean.
What? They took away Pierre's question for breaking a rule? What rule? They won't even tell him. They just moved on. What is this? He comes out with this big rant, dropping some words there I had to bleep out, and then they don't let Pierre reply? Look, she's like, what's going on here? What rule was broken? What did Pierre say that broke the rule?
Mr. Speaker, we're not ready to start. We'll restart.
You can see Pierre's confused too. He's on the side here.
We're not ready to start. We'll restart. It was mentioned earlier when the rule was broken. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker.
What rule was broken? Okay, we're going to look back here. I went back and rewatched the whole thing, even put broken into the transcript to see if I could find anything. There is nothing. There's no reason for him taking away a question other than he said the word counterfeit. I don't know if that's it, but I mean, this is ridiculous.
Five questions. I took one away. I took one question away because the honourable member broke a rule. We're now going to l'honorable député de Saint-Jean.
What kind of censorship is this?